G'day and welcome to Insights and Storytellings with me, Moon Willow. As always, it is an honour and privilege to have you join me whenever you do, and contributing your energies to these stories. I'm not entirely sure where it's going to go this evening, so I'm going to delve straight into the crystals and see what stories come from there. So tonight we've got carnelian and our sacral space, and very much again, I know that it's one that there are 8 crystals in there, believe it or not. There truly are. And we had heart for the past couple of times, and the one before that, if my memory serves, was sacral again. So I'm guessing at the moment with where we're sitting in the world, it is very much about how we create the world that we live in and make sense of it. Because it's, from my perspective, fairly, excuse my French, screwed up at the moment. And there has been considerable changes in the past year or so. Certainly this past, coming up for a year now, where we've had a lot of conditionings, a lot of controls, a lot of smoke and mirrors, and a lot of redirection. So for a lot of us, this time last year, there was some information coming out that was becoming a little bit disturbing, but it wasn't particularly affecting our lives. It was becoming more real. And we had certain courses plotted at a guess. I know I did. And then it's almost like a dark cloud came down and a lot of paths were needed to be rerouted. But a lot was about going inwards and really doing that work on ourselves to navigate what was put forward on the external platform, as it were. And with each turn of the moon, each spin of the earth, there's more information that comes up that on one level, I guess, clouds and confuses. And then on other levels, it can actually open up our eyes. And I think for me, this particular crystal has been, well, this area, our sacral space, has been very prevalent throughout. And how do we make sense of what's going on? What has been our gut responses over the information that we've received from various sources? How does that make sense? How do we weave that into ourselves to go forward? And equally, what are we asking for? What have we asked for within this past sort of 12 months or throughout our lives, but more especially over the past couple of months? What are we asking for, and are we ready to receive that coming into our lives? Or have we got that pre-programming to look at things from, I hesitate to use the word negative, but we'll go with shadow perspective. So sort of like a darkness, and that things are never going to go right, that we're always going to be stuck. that we're always going to, I don't know, live in a fear world. But again, it's our choice. We have that choice as to how we react and respond to the information as it comes in. But it's also noticing, because sometimes when we ask for something, when we create a landscape that we feel is the right one for us to live in, and we're looking for specifics, we're looking for a specific response from the universe. We're expecting things to come in a certain way, and sometimes something else will come up that actually brings about the same destination that we're looking for, but the path is slightly different. So it really is about delving into our creative space. How have we created the world that we're living in at the moment, our environment, our home, as it were? And what meaning have we given to that? Do we see that as a jail? Do we see that as a stifling, as an inability to move forward? Or is it a safe space in which to rest and meditate and grow and learn? Is it an exciting space that we can actually create joy? Connect with various aspects of the world that is actually literally on our doorstep. So that, to me, is where this particular crystal is coming in at the moment. So I'm going to shuffle, and I know that there's things that I can't explain, really. I have my own explanations, and that's the way I make sense of the world, but just because that's the way, that's the language that suits me, doesn't mean that's the same for other people. But one of those things is I do strongly feel that by you being present with me at the time of watching, that is actually contributing the energies to this particular storytelling, all the storytellings I've done. And it may be that sort of like it takes a couple of months before you are watching this, or maybe it's the same day I put it out. Doesn't matter, the energies are still a part of it. And a lot of people that I actually follow say something similar, and suggest that we come across things at the right time, because that's when they'll resonate most strongly for us. And I know my experience in watching other people or listening to other people, that is a truth for me, that there's something in the words, there's something in their storytelling that really resonates or takes me to that next step, next level. And my hope in doing this, it gives something out there that helps add to other people's storytellings and resonate. To clarify or bring a clarity, or even if it's a case of watching and thinking, no, that's utter garbage, that's not what it's right, that's not right for me, that is information that's useful. So yeah, but on that note, I'd like you to focus your energy on the cards for me, and that's where I was actually going with that one. Okay, we'll go with that one. Throughout. Okay, that one did. And just pick one randomly for the last one. So the first one is the woman. And the next one is the dog. And the last one is the garden. So for me, the woman, female card, woman card, however you want to say it, within this is very much the feminine energy. And this works equally well for men and women. I know I say this as well when the man card comes out, male card comes out. It's about our femininity and our divine feminine, which works really well with the sacral, because the sacral space is very much around emotions and emotional tides, and sort of going into the fluidity of how we create and our emotional responses to things. And it's in that emotional response that helps create our responses and whether we will move forward into something or not. And it's sort of getting into the flow of that and actually relishing and cherishing our femininity and the power that comes from our emotions. And the more we try and not connect to our sacral space or our gut responses to things, the more we can become disconnected, but we can also become more tired because we're pushing it down. We're trying to disengage from, I'd like to say, our root feelings. Now, the sacral and the roots are very close together. So it's really important for us to be rooted in ourselves and rooted in our experience of our sacral space as well. It's like if we're listening to a story, if we're listening to or reading or connecting with things out there on the internet or in our day-to-day life, how does that resonate for us? How does that make us feel? Would we like more of that? Are we going to search more for that? Or is that too uncomfortable? Or does that make us feel sick? So we're going to avoid it. But if we actually watch those stories, we can really get more of a sense of what's behind it, what's driving that. And that leads me into the next card, the dog. So really befriending that part of ourselves, befriending the fact that we can actually grow in all aspects, even in an environment that feels stifling. I know I've mentioned it before, but I don't know whether it's on a video that actually came out properly, because as I've mentioned several times as I'm doing these, some of these record all the way through, some don't, some I can still put out, some I can't, I don't know, I get lost on that. But so bear with me if I have mentioned it before, but it's looking at trees, and trees can actually grow root down in the most difficult of circumstances, apparently most difficult of circumstances. You see trees growing on the sides of mountains where you would anticipate there not being much soil, that they'd have difficulty getting their roots in to actually go deep enough to hold them there, to be able to nurture and nourish themselves, to continue growing, to continue flourishing, but they do flourish. So it's really befriending our internal environment that may seem, when we start looking into it, it may feel really uncomfortable, it may feel prickly, it may feel quite barren. We may feel that we haven't got the ability to be creative, that we end up feeling stuck, that we aren't able to grow because of circumstances around us where we feel like it's quite harsh, the environment that we're living in, it's quite sparse. But actually, if we allow ourselves, befriend ourselves, and really feel into ourselves, then we can actually have that opportunity to grow and flourish in the way of that tree. And it's not just about befriending as well ourselves and befriending other human beings on the planet. It's befriending our environment close by, befriending the trees, befriending the grass, connecting with the world, looking at the world and noticing. I had a little feather float down, and so the connections with that has been sort of, there is several different stories that get attached to that. That is the angel watching over you, or that's connection with a spirit of someone who's been lost. It's your spirit guides. You can attach anything to it, but we can attach any stories to whatever's around us. But it's actually, for me in that moment, it was a confirmation on something, but it's also stopping and looking outside, not getting lost in my internal thoughts, not getting pulled with the push me, pull me that I have on an internal basis, because we can get lost in that internal dialogue. And can I create the life that I want to create? How is that going to look? We can get really lost in that, and we can forget to look outside. We can forget to notice what the universe is bringing in for us, or just saying that actually stop worrying, everything is okay. And that's the message you can take from that feather. Connecting with the birds, connecting with animals, and really having a recognition that there is a lot of support out there, and that we can have that friendly connection with all aspects, all living things, including two-leggeds. And that brings me into the last card, which is the garden. So this is about social situations, and our society as a whole, on the surface, looks like it is polarized, that there's almost like this encouragement to join camps, as it were, that finger pointing, naysaying, etc., that this particular line of thought is correct, that one's incorrect, and all of that. And that has been indicative in humanity for the past couple of hundred years, that it's almost like ideologically, racially, all of those, culturally, different countries, things like that, we're keeping encouraged to look at the differences as a bad thing, that we can have power over somebody else if we're looking out for the differences. Now, I've always enjoyed looking for the differences in people and places, so that I can learn more, that I can appreciate more, that I can explore more, that I can actually add to my experiences and learn how to grow. And I guess that's what's coming back for me at the moment in regards to having the sacral space being heard at the moment, is looking at the communities that we are creating and the learnings that we can gain from reaching out and being a part of different communities in cyberspace at the moment, because it's more difficult having that on a physical level at the moment, especially since travel has been curtailed to such a level. But the travelling inwards and the travelling and connecting online, the travelling and connecting of our minds and our souls with the stars above, with the trees and the plants around us, birds, Gaia to support us to actually appreciate her and have a mutuality, a mutual respect that can help create an inner world of stability, of contentment, of connectivity, and that feeling of family. And recognizing that family doesn't just have to be blood, but finding those spaces. So what's coming through at the moment is within this card, within the garden, is finding those spaces out there that help nurture and encourage our creativity, so that we can learn how to befriend ourselves and befriend the earth under our feet, other two-leggeds and other living things, and enabling our emotional selves, our emotional feminine side, and empower her to actually feel to the root of it and feel rooted in who we are and how we're moving forward. So I'm hoping this has made sense to someone out there. I'm going to see which belly sound comes out, if any. Thank you very much for joining me. I really appreciate it. I do still do individual readings. If you're interested, just message me. We can set up a time via this particular medium. Well, not YouTube, but through the realms of computers. But in the meantime, I hope to be back soon. You take care of yourselves. Love you all. Bye for now.